Hey guys, Nick Showman at Showtime Strength and Performance. Today I want to talk about introducing bands into your bench press with your athletes. Obviously at Showtime we work with a lot of high school and a lot of college athletes. All right, so they're not really lifters, so their training age is still fairly low. And I know a lot of people will say, you know, you shouldn't use bands with athletes who have a low training age. And I actually disagree, and the reason is we've had a ton of success, probably more success with using the bands versus not using them. And I think there's a few different things. One, with the band on the bars, when you have that band tension, when you take it out, it's gonna be more force. They have to learn to stay tight and stabilize that bar, and if not, it's not gonna be pretty. So they learn very quickly, as soon as the bar comes out of the rack, they have to brace that to have a decent bench press. Also, when they're benching with a band, all right, the weight is gonna be lighter. You're not gonna have as much bar weight on. So what happens, now the band is decreasing in tension down in the bottom, so you have less weight where they feel the least confident or the most vulnerable, all right? So you're building confidence through a full range of motion, and as we all know, the best part of the weight room is building confidence, all right? So you're building confidence, building safety, and also you're teaching them to accelerate through a full range of motion. All right, so working on increasing velocity, all right, from here all the way up, whereas with just straight weight, they're not gonna always, they're gonna get past their sticking point and sort of cruise. With the bands, that's not possible. So it's a huge win-win. We've seen a huge carryover for our athletes onto their field. All right, so we have sort of a 4-part progression for using bands in our bench training. So first part, we'll take this micro band, run it around, and we're gonna choke it. So we're gonna double it, just like that. So the goal of this, you're not gonna have slack in the bottom, so when they're down on their chest, there's still gonna be just a little bit of tension on that band. You don't want the band to slack when you're down in the bottom. Also, it's worth noting, so you know, when our kids are benching out of our power racks, we're not using band pegs. What we do instead is we run the safety pin through hole 1, all right? And then we just run the band around the bottom post and then around the safety rod. What that does is it creates a bigger choke, which is gonna provide our tension. So phase 1, choke the micro mini band. Then once they develop good habits with that, we'll take it up to a double micro mini band. So now the band's doubled. And also you wanna make sure when you're setting these bands up that they're the same on both sides. You don't want one band far away from the rack, one band back behind you. We usually, where the second hole spacing is for the band pegs, that's usually about where we go. All right, so then after that, so that they've progressed through the micro mini band, now we're gonna do the same thing with a red mini band. All right, so just here, and then you just choke it. All right, so that's the third part of it. And also, whether you choke it from the inside of the rack or the outside, it probably doesn't really matter. I just prefer to make sure that whichever way you choke them, they're choked the same direction, just to avoid any twisting or weird tension. All right, then lastly, just like that, you got double mini bands. We don't really go over mini bands. I don't really see a need for the response we're trying to get with our athletes training. We're just trying to get a little more velocity, a little more top end weight. All right, that's it. We don't have 500-pound bench pressers in our athletic training groups. So a mini band does a great job for the goal we're going after. All right, if you guys have any questions or comments, leave them below. Feel free to email me, Nick@showtimestrength.com.